Hi, and welcome to Antique Case Tarot. I'm going to talk to you about the Landback Tarot today, and that I've had this deck for since early April, mid-April, since about mid-April, or was it March? Oh, it was March. So I've had this deck for almost 2 months. That's my own deck, finally in my hands, and the decks have finally arrived at all the reviewers, and they'll start to be using it and then letting you know how they feel about it. But for me, one of the things I've been wondering this whole time is I'm making this deck, I'm pouring out my thoughts about tarot into the images. What sort of life scenes does this card bring up for me in translating it into images? And this whole time I'm doing it, the one thing is on my mind is like, but what will it be like to read with it? What will it be like, one, to read with my own tarot deck, but what will it be like to read with this tarot deck? Will it read the way I hope to? Would it read the way I wanted it to? Would it be good as like an all-around deck? And that weighed heavily on my mind. Was this deck going to be good for the lighter things in life, and for relationships? I mean, sure, the heavy stuff, but the good parts of it, the fun, exciting parts, would it have all those messages? And I was really excited to find that I really felt like it did have a lot of depth into the messages that were out there. And so I was just going to do some sample readings. So I do a lot of oracle readings, and where I draw an oracle card, and the Landback Tarot and Oracle of Colonization has an oracle portion, a shadow to the major arcana. And it looks at some of those darker things. And so we have righteous rage. And so if I pull 2 tarot cards to expand on that reading, let's see what we get here. All right. So we started with righteous rage, and then I drew grandfather son and the 9 of drums or pence. And so, I'm seeing here that righteous rage, it's a shadow to the lover's card. So we know it's about, our personal truth, and even those personal truths that are hard and are difficult and are raw, they take a huge amount of vulnerability, which that lover's card is so much about. And we often, sometimes it comes out in like places we didn't attend, but a lot of times our righteous rage comes out in places where we feel safe. And that might be because we have others with us or other things, but that freedom and ability to express it, and then we feel, that support that we're able to take and express out into the world. And we see the Sun card reminding us like that this takes confidence too, and that it will lift our confidence. That when we express that righteous rage and we burn up those things that hurt and that hinder us and that hold us back, when we burn them up, we feel so much more free. And we can then accept in like those beautiful and bountiful gifts of the sun. And when we've made space for that and we do that, we're going to be able to see that it's, we can also accept and bring in other sorts of gifts in our life. We can bring in those material wants, and we deserve, to have our material wants filled as well, not just our basic survival needs. Having only our basic survival needs is what led to this in the first place. But when we see that we deserve like to have our needs fully met as we express them, and through the that expression and vulnerability that creates healthy boundaries of the six and allows us to express our full range of emotions. When we see we deserve those sorts of things too, and that we also deserve the bounty of this earth, and we can see we also deserve to have those things in life, that the world said we can't have. They're not for you. Have you earned those extras? What are you as a poor person doing with any extras? I had moments of that, this week with tax return money coming in. And, I bought some clothes for myself and for my son. And, more for him, he's growing. A stylus pen to do more digital art on a tablet. So, those are practical things. And I also bought some decks. And, that's also a practical thing as a tarot reader, to own some decks and, to put money that's not on my regular budget towards it. But I still had to keep convincing myself that I deserve to spend this money, not just on my son, but on myself. And, yeah. So I was really happy that, the cards gave me that full range of messages and that I could go into it. And, I wondered, can I pull this out for romance readings? Can I do that? How's that, how's that going to go? But, it has all those cards that, other cards also have. So, to do a relationship reading, and I got look within, what's the state of my relationship life? It's not all that great, folks. Becoming single just before COVID is not great for the relationship life. Right? And so what kind of advice did we get here? Well, there's nothing deep going on in my relationship life, so no Cups cards came up. But, I have done readings for folks, and those Cups cards came up, and other cards, too, that help fill out those relationship readings when there's something positive there to give the person. And, then also I'm able to get, and I'm using the Truth decks here, the Reconciliation Edition by Pretty Spirits. And I got Look Within. And then I got Grandmother Moon and the Three of Arrows. And, I do need to look within because, that's what's open to me right now at this time primarily. And, so taking this time during, COVID to do that work and to look within is going to be one of the best things I can do for my relationship life at this point. Make some use of the time and the situations that we're in. And, if I take this journey of looking within, Grandmother Moon's going to help me unpack some more secrets within me, some understandings to open myself up to, and to have a greater understanding of my own emotional states to bring into future relationships. And, I think of the moon and that it's sisterhood with the waters and the earth. And remember that working on my non-romantic relationships going on in my life and building on that sisterhood will serve, to bring forth the ability to love in better ways that I'll be able to bring into romantic relationships when I have them. And then I also have the Three of Arrows because, it's not entirely lost out there. There is online dating going on with folks, making COVID-safe thoughts and arrangements and plans and getting to know you. And so go get looking out there and get a new perspective from a different way of putting myself out there than I had in the past. And, not just sign up onto a dating site, but actually looking at it regularly enough to respond to a message if there is one. Maybe I've, missed a few opportunities because I haven't gone and looked to see what's out there and before me. I'm just like wandering around down there in the woods being like, well, I don't know what I'm going to do. There's nobody walking across like, me in the middle of the woods by myself during COVID. What on earth am I going to do? Go get a better look from a place where, I can see things a little bit better via, that internet world. So, I've been really quite happy with it. I feel that it has some good all-around insights, and I've been really pleased, not just in short readings like this, but I've been pleased with it in the in-depth sort of readings. Now, these cards that came up are cards with, like, fairly more typical outlooks and themes, but, lots of them have more story pictures. I like this one. It's also pretty typical. You can see how this ties to the Ten of Wands. And, there's lots that we can see here in the imagery. The person has, come from hunting. Their bag is packed full of, all the meat that they've harvested, and now they have to bring it home, all the way up here in the distance. And we can see from the perspective, look, so they got to go down a hill and up a hill and carry all this, and it's been a long journey. It's the end of the day. The sun has set. It's in that deep but not dark blue stage that, just before it gets dark, right? And, we can get into this and we can look into it in really pretty typical ways. The Seven of Drums, they've got, they're just at the beginning of this work. And, if you don't know, you choose the right tree when you, for your drum, and you hope it's the right tree. And there's lots of clues that you can take from looking at it to be like, it's the right kind of tree, this looks like a good size, it looks in pretty good shape, how long it looks to have been there. But really, until you get cutting into it and get working on it, that's when you're really going to know, like, how's this going? How's it coming along? Because that's going to be the drum I, had hoped it would be. And then, we'll also rely on the hide after all this work, right? And then the effort put into making it, and we see this long journey and taking a coffee break, still fairly early in on the progress, but still been a good amount of work put in, right? We're probably at like late morning at this point, and having got out there, having found the right tree, and just getting ready to start going. Just got our first cuts in. So I like these. I like stories. So for folks who rely on symbolism, this is going to be a bigger push, because I haven't used a lot of the symbolism, as it actually doesn't relate to me, and I largely don't actually read with it. I read with an understanding of what this card means, rather than, looking for these symbols that I don't necessarily relate to. So for some folks that might make this deck harder, but if you're working on telling through story and thinking through story, and I think a lot of the tarot readers, we do think through story. That, I believe, is the way into these cards, is to get into the story that you see going on. And that could be the behind-the-scenes stories, the before parts of the stories, the after parts of the stories. But to look into the story and see where we're sitting in this card, in the story, and what might come from there. So those are my thoughts on using my deck, and I'm definitely looking forward, to reviewers and seeing how they felt the deck read for them, how it felt for them to dive into the stories in the deck. And then, my next big excitement, anticipation will be waiting to see how it reads for all of you. Thank you.